People who face death, survival stories. Today, I'm going to tell you the mind-blowing stories of 3 people who faced death and managed to survive under seemingly impossible conditions. Are you ready? Let's begin. John Colter, the man who ran for his life. Today, I'm going to tell you about one of the most legendary stories of the Wild West, the story of a man who escaped naked from hundreds of Native American warriors and managed to survive. If you're ready, let's begin. Do you know John Colter, the first white man to enter the Yellowstone National Park area? But what truly made him legendary was Colter's run, the race of his life. He was born in Virginia in 1774. While working as a ranger, he mastered wilderness survival on his own. In 1803, Meriwether Lewis met him. He was impressed by Colter's abilities. He invited him to join the famous Lewis and Clark expedition for a salary of $5 a month. Colter was one of the best hunters in the group. He was constantly sent out alone for exploration. He played a critical role in finding passage routes through the Rocky Mountains. Interestingly, he never got sick. Lewis and Clark truly trusted him greatly. In 1806, while the team was returning, they met 2 trappers. They were going to Yellowstone. Colter wasn't ready to return to civilization. He left the group and stayed in the wilderness with them. During the winter of 1807-1808, Colter stayed alone in the forest for months. He's considered humanity's first mountain man. He was the first white man to enter Yellowstone. He saw geysers, mud pools, and steaming waters. When he returned, nobody believed him. They mocked him. They called the area Colter's Hell. Of course, later he was proven right. But the real story begins in 1809. John Colter and his friend John Potts are slowly moving in a canoe down a small creek. Suddenly, hundreds of Blackfoot Indians surround them. The natives were pointing to the shore. No escape. The 2 turn the canoe to shore. A fight quickly breaks out. Potts panics and shoots one of the Indians. They're caught in a rain of arrows. Potts instantly loses his life there. Now it's Colter's turn, but they don't kill him immediately. They strip him naked, they take him to the prairie and say, "Run." Colter understands. This is a human hunt, and he is the prey. The river is about 8 kilometers away. This is his only chance. He starts running, the hardest race of his life. Like a fast runner, Colter makes a good start, but he's running so hard that blood starts flowing from his nose. Blood streams down his naked body. In the first few kilometers, he leaves most behind. He looks back. Only 1 native is approaching. Colter suddenly stops. He turns around, opens his arms. The warrior, seeing his blood-covered body, is startled, stumbles, and his spear suddenly breaks. Colter seizes the opportunity. He grabs the broken spear and drives it into the warrior's body, killing him. This bought Colter time, but the others became even more enraged. They're chasing faster. Finally, he reaches the river. He jumps into the water. According to legend, he swims toward a beaver dam and hides himself completely there. He hides for hours. The Indians finally give up and leave. Naked, unarmed, without food, Colter is alone. The nearest civilization is several hundred kilometers away. 1 week later, after long struggles, John Colter reaches the trading post. He has finally won the race of his life. He had become a legend of the Wild West. This is John Colter's story, the man who returned from death, who achieved the impossible. Now I'm going to tell you the mind-blowing story of a doctor whose appendix burst in the middle of Antarctica and who had to operate on himself to survive. If you're ready, let's begin. Chile has an interesting settlement in Antarctica. It's called Villas las Estrellas. It has a very interesting rule you should know. Everyone who moves there, including children, must have their appendix removed in advance, and this is truly mandatory. The nearest hospital is 1,000 kilometers away, and there's no doctor on the island. This rule wasn't made arbitrarily, because in 1960, a terrible event happened to a 27-year-old Soviet doctor who experienced this situation, and he was the only doctor on the team. Leonid Rogozov had interrupted his surgical training and joined the 6th Soviet Antarctic expedition in 1960. He was there with 12 researchers to build a new base 75 kilometers from the Antarctic coast. In January 1961, the station was ready. They were experiencing Antarctica's harshest winter months. Everything is going well. On the morning of April 29th, Rogozov wakes up. He feels something is wrong. Weakness, fatigue, nausea. The next day, sharp pain begins in the right side of his abdomen. Rogozov knows the cause of the pain: appendicitis. Under normal circumstances, it's an illness that would be treated with routine surgery, but not in the middle of Antarctica. It had taken 36 days to get there. The ship won't come for another year. There's no plane either. The winter storm makes it impossible for aircraft to take off. His condition is rapidly worsening. If his appendix bursts, he will definitely die. He has only one option: to operate on himself. At that time, it wasn't even known if this was humanly possible. Moreover, he couldn't sedate himself. The pain in his body would become unbearable. At the height of the Cold War, the commander has to get permission from Moscow. A failed surgery means loss of prestige, but without surgery, Rogozov will definitely die. Rogozov keeps a diary. From what he wrote in his diary the night before the surgery: "I didn't sleep at all last night. It hurts like the devil. A snowstorm in my soul. I must operate on myself. It's almost impossible, but I can't give up." Rogozov has 12 men. They have no medical knowledge, but he's training them. 2 will hold the lamp and hand instruments. 1 will hold a mirror. He instructed his men to inject adrenaline if he passes out. He said to apply only local anesthesia. His vision must not be blurred, because he will perform the surgery. Before starting the surgery, Rogozov looks at his assistants. My poor assistants. They stood there in their surgical gowns, whiter than white themselves. I was scared too, but when I picked up the needle and gave myself the first injection, I automatically switched into operating mode. The mirror is very difficult, inverted image. He quickly switches to working without gloves, by touch. The bleeding is very intense. He thinks several times he will pass out. What he wrote later: "The bleeding is heavy. I'm getting weaker and weaker. My head is spinning. Every 4 to 5 minutes I rest for 20 seconds. Finally, here it is, the damned appendix. There's a dark stain at its base. If I had waited one more day, it would have burst. My heart slowed down. My hands feel like rubber. I thought it would end badly." After a 2-hour surgery, Rogozov removes his appendix. If he had waited one more day, it would definitely have burst. The result would have ended in death. He recovers in 2 weeks. He returns to his normal life. The British Medical Journal publishes a case report. Rogozov's story creates a big impact in the Soviet Union. 3 weeks earlier, Yuri Gagarin had gone to space. Both are 27 years old. Both are Soviet heroes. Rogozov receives the Order of the Red Banner of Labor, but he has no pleasant memories of the expedition. "I wasted 2 years of my life in a frozen, abandoned place," he says. Since then, everyone going to Antarctica undergoes comprehensive medical examination. The Chilean town's rule also comes from this incident. If there's no hospital nearby, removing the appendix beforehand makes it safer. This is Leonid Rogozov's story, an incredible man who operated on himself and managed to survive.
Julianne Kepke, the girl who fell from the sky. Our next hero is the story of a 17-year-old girl who fell into the Amazon rainforest from a height of 3 kilometers and survived alone for 10 days. If you're ready, let's begin. December 24, 1971, Christmas Eve. 17-year-old Julianne Kepke and her mother Maria are boarding LANSA Flight 508 departing from Lima. They're going to visit her father and spend Christmas together. Julianne doesn't actually want to go before Christmas because there's a school dance and graduation ceremony. She convinces her mother, gets her to agree to fly on Christmas Eve. But there's a problem. All flights are fully booked. Only LANSA Airlines has seats available. This airline has a poor safety record. Julianne's father had previously told his wife not to fly with this company. But her mother isn't worried. It's just a 1-hour flight. What could happen, she thinks. The plane takes off. The first half hour passes normally. Then the pilot enters a storm. The plane encounters severe turbulence. Luggage falls on passengers. Passengers are screaming, and suddenly a bright flash explodes. Lightning strikes the fuel tank in the right wing and sets the wing on fire. Julianne looks at her mother. Her mother calmly says, "This is the end. It's all over." These are the last words she hears from her mother. The plane disintegrates in the air at 3 kilometers altitude. Passengers are thrown into the open sky. Julianne, still strapped to her seat, the plane falling head over heels downward. The wind whistles in her ears. She loses consciousness. When she opens her eyes, it's the next morning, in the middle of the Amazon rainforest. She finds herself wet, muddy, and completely alone. Her collarbone is broken. There's a deep wound on her arm. Her eye is swollen. A very short dress and 1 sandal. She's lost her glasses. Her eyes are nearly blind. But she has one thing: knowledge. Her family are zoologists. Julianne had lived in the Amazon as a child. She had learned from her father: follow the water, reach rivers, find people. She finds a small stream and starts following it. Days pass. She has no food, only a bag of candy she found in the wreckage. At night, she tries to sleep, shivering under bushes. Mosquitoes attack. Flies lay eggs in the wound on her arm. Maggots enter the flesh.
On the 4th day, she finds 3 corpses. They're still strapped to their seats, their heads buried in the ground. She approaches with fear, drops the woman's shoe. The nails are painted. This couldn't be her mother. Her mother never used nail polish. She continues walking. Her strength is now exhausted. The sun burns her back. She starts seeing hallucinations. Each day becomes a bit harder. On the 10th day, she sees a boat. She sees a hut above and immediately climbs to the hut. She finds gasoline inside. She remembers what her father did to a dog, pouring gasoline on the wound. The pain feels unbearable, but she removes 30 maggots from her arm. In the evening, she hears voices. 3 lumberjacks see her coming out of the forest. When they see her, they freeze. Is this a water goddess? "I'm the girl from the Lanza crash," she says in Spanish. "My name is Julianne." The men are in shock. They treat her wounds and give her food. The next day, they travel 7 hours by canoe on the river. Then they take her to the hospital by plane. Julianne reunites with her father. Words are insufficient. Only tears flow from their eyes. Days later, the truth emerges. There were 92 people on Lanza Flight 508. 91 died. Only Julianne survived. Her mother had also survived the fall, but died days later due to her injuries. A total of 14 people survived the initial impact, but couldn't be rescued. Julianne becomes the miracle girl. The Peruvian press admires her, but Julianne just wanted to survive. She moves to Germany. She finishes university, becomes a zoologist like her family, gets a doctorate. Today, in her 60s, she works as a librarian in Germany. She still visits her parents' research station in the Amazon. This is Julianne Kopke's story, the girl who fell from the sky but didn't give up. If you liked the video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.